It's tragic. The whole thing's tragic.
Well, good evening, and we begin at 5 with a violent weekend in the Rose City with 4 separate shootings, including the deadliest of the year, where 3 people were shot dead in the middle of the day. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. It happened in North Portland Saturday about lunchtime. Officials are calling it shocking, and neighbors are left feeling on edge and questioning if they should move. Blair Best reports.
3 balloons covered in messages of grief mark the lives lost in a shooting that shook this North Portland neighborhood to its core.
I couldn't believe it. It's a quiet, nice family neighborhood.
But Saturday afternoon, that all changed when 3 people were shot and killed while driving a car through this intersection.
Shocked that this happened.
The very idea that this could happen, I hear witnesses here said there were 10 to 15 shots. That's a lot of bullets flying around.
There's a very tense, almost eerie-like feeling being in this neighborhood this morning. We watched as the family of at least one of the victims came up and put flowers at the site, and a woman told us through tears that her brother was one of the ones who died in the shooting. Now, we have knocked on the doors of nearly everyone in this neighborhood, and no one will talk with us on record for fear of retaliation. As of this morning, police still haven't caught the suspects, and neighbors are afraid that the suspects could come back and threaten the neighborhood.
I understand how people are frightened here.
Absolutely, I would be if it was in my neighborhood.
These 2 women use the Charles Jordan Community Center, just steps away from where the shooting took place.
It's terrible wherever it happens. I mean, it's not just us. It's all of Portland.
That was surely felt in many corners of the city this weekend after 4 confirmed shootings. The first happened Friday night at 10:45 at the Alibi Tiki Lounge on North Interstate Ave. 1 man was injured but is expected to be okay. Things got chaotic with the crowd, and during the investigation, 1 officer was punched. So far, there have been no arrests. About 4 hours later, early Saturday morning, there was a shooting on Southeast Foster, where 2 businesses and a vehicle were hit. Police say no one was hurt and no arrests have been made. 9 hours later was the deadly shooting in North Portland, marking the 15th, 16th, and 17th homicides in the city this year. Around 2 o'clock Sunday morning, shots were fired on Northeast Hassalo and 87th, hitting 4 houses. 1 woman there described her window shattering above her head. No one was injured or arrested in that case.
People are bolder. They seem to think that that there's no retaliation for them.
This string of violence leaves many neighbors with only one answer.
It makes us not necessarily want to continue to live in Portland.
In North Portland, Blair Best, KGW News.
Another shooting tragedy getting nationwide attention. 3 children and 3 adults are dead in the latest school shooting. Today's shooting happened at a private Christian school in Nashville. Police have identified the shooter as a 28-year-old woman who used to attend the school as a child. She had a detailed map of the school, conducted surveillance, and left a manifesto. Police killed her minutes after this started. Here are the names of the 6 victims. This is just horrifying. The 3 students were just 9 years old.
There was so many police cars, and then the ambulances started coming away from the school. And that's when I had heard there was a school shooting.
3 people lost their children today. It's hard to imagine.
It is hard to imagine, and we'll have those names for you later on NBC Nightly News. Police are now going through the manifesto to figure out a motive. President Biden today called on Congress to pass an assault weapons ban, and Nightly will have much more on this story coming up at 5:30.
Let's take you to Old Town now, where it's been an especially scary week, folks tell us, for the staff and volunteers at Blanchet House. Now, they serve 3 meals a day, 6 days a week, and over the course of last week, witnessed 3 people overdosing right in front of them. Brian Clerkley is in the newsroom. Brian, in all of these cases, we understand staffers saved lives by using Narcan that reverses the effects of an opioid overdose, though now it sounds like they're worried they might actually run out.
Yeah, it's very expensive. The executive director of Blanchet House is hoping to get help from legislators who can make it more accessible. Blanchet House had to use several doses for one person, and each dose can cost around $90. Right now, the nonprofit is getting the Narcan from the county health department and Oregon Health Authority. The medicine is located all over the building, and staff members are trained in how to use it.
There should be a system where we could go online, fill out an easy form and say this is what we need, and then it'll arrive. And right now it seems a little unsure.
Kerman says staff members can often see when someone is in distress or having a drug overdose. They have found people unconscious in their tents, and then that's when they administered the Narcan. And Kerman says they do have plenty of Narcan as of now, and they've been carrying this for the last couple of years. Laurel?
Thank you, Bryant. We're still waiting to find out if a Vancouver man will be charged with killing his girlfriend and her daughter. Police have still only named him as a person of interest. There was a vigil held yesterday in Esther Short Park to remember Miche Melendez and 7-year-old Layla Stewart. Hundreds of friends and family showed up. The mayor and police chief also spoke. It was emotional for everyone at the vigil.
Close friends with Layla and Miche. Layla was pretty much my niece. So yeah, this has been very heartbreaking.
We really want to honor the family and make sure they get lots of support for that Layla and her mom is gone.
Police found the two bodies in Washougal last Wednesday. Miche's boyfriend, Kirkland Warren, is in custody, but as we mentioned, is just a person of interest at this point. He was arrested earlier this month, accused of shooting at Miche in her apartment.
We will certainly keep you updated there. A shoplifter at Washington Square Mall has been sentenced to more than 5 years in prison after she, pardon us here, bit off the earlobe of a Nordstrom security guard who was trying to stop her from stealing. As investigative reporter Kylie Boshi reports, while arrests and convictions are being made, it's just the latest local example of retail theft turned downright ugly.
A shoplifter who bit the earlobe off a Nordstrom security guard during a scuffle was sentenced to 70 months in prison. Ashley Clark pleaded guilty to assault and attempted robbery in Washington County. On July 22nd, prosecutors say Clark stole nearly $800 worth of merchandise from Nordstrom at the Washington Square Mall in Tigard. As she was leaving the store, loss prevention confronted her. Clark resisted. During the scuffle, prosecutors said Clark bit the earlobe off one of the loss prevention officers. The victim went to the hospital, but her earlobe could not be surgically reattached. Earlier this month, a different store in Washington Square Mall announced it was closing due to retail theft. The owner of Consign Couture said shoplifters had hit her store 19 times, stealing more than $56,000 in luxury bags, clothing, and shoes over the past year.
The amount of work that goes into running a small business, down to the research and tags and training to do this the right way, and then someone just steals a day's worth of all your work. It's what's the point?
In an unrelated case, a Portland man was sentenced to 6 years in prison for a series of large-scale retail thefts. Prosecutors in Clackamas County say Martin Castaway ripped off more than $30,000 in merchandise from Fred Meyer and Dick's Sporting Goods. Kyla Boshi, KGW News.
Washington State Supreme Court upheld a new capital gains tax, and in response, Fisher Investments says it's moving its headquarters to Texas. Fisher Investments' current headquarters is in Camas, and it's one of the largest employers in Clark County. Despite moving the headquarters, Fisher told us today it will not close its Camas office, but some staff will transfer to its office in Plano, Texas. In a 7-2 vote on Friday, the state Supreme Court upheld the new tax. It collects a 7% tax on profits made from stock and bond investments, but only for the state's top investment earners, which is about 7,000 households. The tax was challenged as an illegal income tax.
Well, Pat Doris is here with us now. Pat, great to see you at 5. You're joining us because you got a brand new series debuting tonight on The Story, all about the Greater Idaho movement, people east of the Cascades who say their voices just are not being heard in Salem. I'm very curious. What'd you find out?
Well, I've been interested in getting over there for some time because I thought, we need to get to the bottom of this and find out what the frustration is. And there is quite a bit of frustration behind this movement that they're calling Greater Idaho. So earlier this month, we made the 5-hour drive from Portland to the town of John Day to talk with folks in an attempt to drill down and really find out what's going on here. Mike Slinkard is a supporter of moving the border. He does not like Oregon's capital gains tax and legislation targeting diesel in the name of global warming and any number of other statewide laws passed by lawmakers from the big cities. Fundamentally, he and others do not feel like their vote matters.
We don't feel like we have representation. We have some great representatives. I've dealt with Mark Owen a lot and some of the other ones, and they try hard, but they're so outnumbered. We don't have a voice.
So even if there's an important issue here on the west side, if they disagree with it, there's so many more representatives.
Exactly. And so, we just felt like we're not only ignored, but we really don't feel like they really care about us over here very much.
Don't really care about us. So it sounds like it's both the issues and then the emotions around those issues. You were there for a few days, though. What else are you working on?
Well, it was surprising and eye-opening. So we talked with a business owner that we'll hear on Wednesday. You would think that she'd be all for the Greater Idaho, but she's not, and she'll explain why. Okay. We'll also talk to the number 2 in the movement who is very much behind it. And we'll talk about whether this impending divorce can be stopped through mediation or something like that. We're also going to talk to the Grant County Sheriff about kind of that rural area and how really the culture is so different. And then Friday, we're going to talk to a rancher who's had his own dog attacked and killed by wolves out there. Okay. And he's very concerned about wolves in his area.
All right. You've been all across it. Looking forward to it all week. That's 6 o'clock on The Story. We'll see you then, Pat.
Thanks, David. Yep.